So now what? We wait. What is there to wait for? I guess we can wait for the playoffs, but we really didn't have our A game against the Patriots. Just wait. We'll find out who we play in the playoffs and we in round one. Obviously, we're not going to get that first round bye, but we'll see what also happened. Bills Patriots on Bills postgame starts right now. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Hello, Bills Mafia, and welcome into a very special edition, Double Trouble of Sports for Beginners. My name is Scott McGregor. It is Bills postgame. The Buffalo Bills were defeated by the New England Patriots 23-16, the final, with our starters being rested. I wonder if this game meant anything to the Buffalo Bills despite this loss. Now, give them credit. Give them credit. Give them credit. We had some good plays, some bad plays, but the reality of it is, I think the challenge that Sean McDermott issued kind of did us in. I think that the challenge here that Sean McDermott put out did us in this game. My name is Scott McGregor, as I said. All right. So we have a game to break down, and we're going to get into that in a second. But before we do, it's time to open up Bill's postgame the way that we normally do with our head coaches. The head coach of the Buffalo Bills is Sean McDermott. The starting quarterback of the Buffalo Bills is Josh Allen. Was in there to play one snap, did not play the rest of the game. And of course, we turn our attention to Drake May and Gerard Mayo. Gerard Mayo, our head coach of the New England Patriots. I'll just make sure I have that correct here as we bring the program to you here. By the way, we saw an NFL debut for the New England Patriots as they improve to 4-13 on the season to wrap up the season. The Buffalo Bills finished the season at a record right now of 13-4. They came into this game 13-3. The Patriots came into this game looking for a win after dropping their last 6 games, and they came into the game 3-13. Lot for us to get into, including over the course of the program. Who would we rather face next Sunday in the wild card matchup? Because we're going to get to that in our week 18 look around the NFL in a little bit. But we also have to break down this game. Gerard Mayo and Drake May, or I should say Joe Middleton, who made his NFL debut and was a nice little debut by him. Welcome to the NFL, my friend. Mitch Trubinsky in at quarterback for the Bills this game. Now, Josh Allen did play in this game, but he only played one snap and did not play all game long. So this was some good news for Josh Allen just for his career. And we're going to get to it all in a second. But speaking of the Week 17 window, why don't we just go ahead and take a look at that right off the jump here, now that we've talked about quarterbacks for this game. And of course, we have talked about, yes, we have talked about the fact that we have Drake May, Joe Middleton, Mitch Trubinsky, and we also saw Mike White also come into the game. Now, both of those quarterbacks I just mentioned for Buffalo, they did not get picked off or sacked in this game, but Trubinsky did throw a touchdown pass, and James Cook also got a ground game touchdown. Ray Davis got the receiving touchdown for Buffalo. All right, so with that being said, we're going to get into all of that in a second, but let's just talk about our early window and the games from Saturday as Week 18 kicked off with a bang. First up, it was the Baltimore Ravens looking to win the AFC North, and they did so, beating the Cleveland Browns 35-10. They beat the Cleveland Browns by a big digit number. They beat the Browns 35-10. They beat them by 25 points. We'll break down the game in a little bit, our game in a little bit. But moving on as we go through our Saturday doubleheader, the Steelers, now nothing to play for now that the Ravens have won the AFC North division. They are the AFC North champions. They play a team that is in that conversation that we're going to talk about later in the show. Before we get to the game balls of the game, in the Cincinnati Bengals. And this one, George Pickens. I got to talk about George Pickens. George Pickens. What was that, my friend? Watching this game was scary for me to watch, especially when it came down to you. Now, I mean no disrespect to George Pickens. I thought he had an interesting day, but 6 targets and 1 catch on 6 targets. My friend, you needed more catches if you were going to win this game. But give credit to Pat Firemouth. Give credit to Pat Firemouth and of course Russell Wilson and maybe Najee Harris. Give some credit to him as well. Some touchdowns, some catches, some passes. No picks. Well, I mean, technically, we did see a pick in that game, but regardless, I still feel like Russell had a bit of an interesting game. They had a bit of an interesting game, but we got Najee Harris getting a touchdown, Wilson throwing a passing touchdown to Pat Firemouth. George Pickens, not a good day for him on Saturday. They lose 19-17, and now for the moment as we talk to you on a Victory Monday episode for New England Patriot fans as they end the regular season on a high note with a big win. And I thought this was going to be a birthday dub for the Buffalo Bills for me. Unfortunately not. But you know what? 2 teams in the conversation that get started in about a few minutes' time that we will be following over the course of our program. The Miami Dolphins and the Denver Broncos are in that conversation as they take on the Kansas City Chiefs, who are resting Patrick Mahomes, as I understand, and a couple of their starters. And meanwhile, Miami is taking on the Jets. The Jets playing for pride at this point. Miami and Denver in must-win territory. The winner of one of those games will face Buffalo next week on Sunday in the wild card round. When will that be? We'll find out, I'm sure, when the night is up. When you are listening to this show, we will probably know by the time the show hits the air who the Bills are playing in the wild card round. For Miami, it's win or you're done. For Denver, same thing. Win or you're done. If they both lose, then it will be Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and the Cincinnati Bengals will be coming to Buffalo. All right, so we know the possibilities. Let's take our first break of the program. When we come back, it's time to break down this 23-16 loss, sweet taste of revenge game for the New England Patriots as they improve to 4-13 to finish the season, and the Bills drop to 13-4 to finish the regular season. However, the good news, they are in the postseason. The bad news, we didn't get the number 1 seed, but we got the 2 seed, which means we get a home game in Buffalo. So that's got to account for something. Bills postgame will continue in a moment. Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Don't miss a minute of the action on the ice with the Penguins and the Maple Leafs, as well as other programs here on Sports for Beginners. We welcome you back into the program here. Talking football, we're going to be talking hockey a little bit later on Sports for Beginners. Penguins and the Hurricanes. The Penguins looking for a bounce back against the Florida Panthers as they take on the Hurricanes tonight. They lost to the Panthers 3-2 in a shootout on Friday night. They'll be looking for a victory against the Hurricanes on a special day for Thomas and myself. It's our birthday, so happy birthday to Thomas here if he's listening into the show. Of course, by the time we listen to the show, as we are recording this on our birthday, January the 5th, 2025, we have turned 25 in the process. But anyways, Penguins and the Hurricanes coming up on our birthday Sports for Beginners Double Trouble special. Coming up following the Hurricanes and Penguins game. Game time is at 6 p.m. Eastern. We will follow post-game show with that one as well. Also still to come, we haven't yet recorded our recap of Minnesota taking on the Sirens. The Sirens win that one cleanly, 5-0. And we'll also touch on, while we're doing that recap here on Sports for Beginners, while we're doing that recap, even though that was from the 4th, that was from yesterday, the 4th of January, as we are talking to you here. That will be coming up following this show, and then following that, we will follow up with Penguins postgame. Our second part of the program, of our special, I should say. So make sure you stay tuned for that. No victory speech on the way this program here, but we get a game break or whenever, as we will continue on at least through the first 2 quarters of the game on this Victory Monday for the New England Patriots, and Ordinary Monday for Bills fans, Bills Mafia. We didn't start out well, and the Patriots made us pay for it. But another close game bites the dust. Once again, our final score, Bills 16, Patriots 23. It's time to break down the game here. Here we go with our half-by-half game breakdown. As I mentioned earlier on, Josh Allen, make no mistake about it. As I mentioned before, make no mistake about it, Josh Allen was in the game. He did play 1 quarter. Well, he actually did play 1 snap in which it was a turnover on downs, but he played. Oh, no, he did not. He did not play. So that's interesting to me. I thought Josh was going to play. Did he play? He should have. He should have been out there for at least 1 play. It doesn't look like he was, especially not in the first quarter. But you know what? Regardless, Josh was going to start that game, as we knew. Oh, no, sorry, that was in the 4th quarter. There we go. Let me try that again. Yes, there we go. Josh was in the game, but he was in for that 1 snap where they gave the ball to James Cook. He went for 4 yards, made it 2nd and 6, and after that, Mitch Trubisky was inserted into the game and would play the rest of the game. My bad. But anyways, moving on. Patriots have a first half here, but the Bills, the difference maker here in the second quarter of the first half of our half-by-half breakdown, after Joe Milton went 1 yard for a touchdown, his first NFL touchdown, and the kick by Jay Sly was up and good in terms of extra points. Joey Sly, his extra point was up and good. Patriots take a 7-0 lead after 1 quarter of play. Mitch Trubisky into the game now after Josh Allen was in there for at least 1 snap. At least 1 snap. In the second quarter, this is when Trubisky goes short right, finds Ray Davis for a 2-yard touchdown. Extra point by Tyler Bass is up and good. And after 1 quarter of play, the Patriots were leading 7-0. Trubisky and Ray Davis tie it up at 7-7. But then Milton goes deep for KB for a 48-yard touchdown. Extra point by Joey Sly is good. It's 14-7 New England. New England back in front. This time they're in front by 7. Not for long. Bills. Well, Tyler Bass has been tested with the field goals for a while, and he gets tested here. He has to make a 49-yard field goal, and he does. So the Bills trail by 4 at the half. 14-10 at the half. New England. All right. On to the second half we go. Here we go. In the third quarter, James Cook up the middle. Touchdown. But the extra point by Tyler Bass to make it 17-14 is no good. And then Joey Sly. Well, Tyler made a 49-yard field goal before the half. Let me see if I can do that here in the third quarter. And he does just that. 41-yard field goal in the books. New England's up 17-16. And then in the fourth quarter, it was Joey Sly all the way. 42-yard field goal up and good, 20-16. Then he was tested with a 50-yard field goal. That is up and good. And that brings us to a 23-16 final. So evidently, it came down to field goals. And it was 23-16 Patriots in favor of the Bills. Well, Patriots in favor of the Patriots against the Bills. And they do get a big taste of revenge after the Bills beat them 24-21 back in Highmark Stadium 2 weeks ago. If you haven't seen those recaps yet, they are available right now on the Sports for Beginners podcast feed and will be available eventually on the On the Ice and Behind the Benches podcast feed, as well as this one when we get it to you as best as we can. Alrighty. We got to go to a game break, and that will take us to our second of many timeouts in the program here. The games we have been talking about. We talked about the Steelers losing to the Bengals. That's why they're still in the conversation of possible opponents to play the Buffalo Bills. But we will see what happens with the Broncos and the Dolphins game. Both games underway right now. And it is a 7-0 lead for the Denver Broncos right now. Bo Nix finds MM for a 32-yard touchdown. Will Lutz's extra point is up and good. And the Broncos take an early 7-0 lead on the Chiefs, who are coming into this game the number 1 seed and also at 15-1, looking to go 16-1 to end the season. The Broncos are 9-7, looking to go 10-7. If that happens, the Chiefs will end the season 15-2. The Miami Dolphins are 8-8. The New York Jets are 4-12. So if Miami wins this game, they go to 9-8, and the Jets go to 4-12. Now, what happens if the Broncos and the Dolphins both win? Well, we know one thing. We know one thing for sure. What we do know, one thing for sure, the Bengals will not play. Well, okay, I mean, maybe it's not for sure, but the Bengals do need a loss with the Dolphins or a tie with the Dolphins and the Jets game, but they also need a Chief win over the Broncos to be in the conversation, which they very much still are in that conversation until we hit triple zeros in the fourth quarter of both the Chiefs, Broncos, and Dolphins Jets game. They still are in that question. They still are in the question. They still are in the question. They still are in that question. So I guess the question I want to ask you guys, Bills Mafia, by the time we have this up on the air, you're probably going to know who it's going to be. But I just want to know, who would you rather face? Do you want to face Joe Burrow and the Bengals along with Jamar Chase? Do you want to face Tua and the Dolphins a third time this year? Do you want to face the Broncos? Do you want to... Who do you want to face between the Broncos, Dolphins, and the Bengals? One of those three teams the Bills will face next Sunday, coming out of this loss. But we also got to remember, Bills Mafia, a loss like this one, if it was a playoff game, we choke, and that's our season. We choke, and that's our season. Like, right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're in that position where if we choke next week, that's the season. That's it. If we choke next week in the postseason, that's it. Game over. Season done. Kiss it goodbye. We'll take some time to reflect on that. But as I mentioned in the games we are keeping an eye on right now, the Broncos leading 7-0. The Jets trailing the Dolphins 3-0. All right. We'll check back with those games in a moment. Our Sunday Week 17 look around, as well as getting ready for that big NFC Sunday Night Football game coming up when Bills postgame continues. The breakdown is done. We'll break down the stats when we continue. Stick with us.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Welcome back to Bills postgame here. Happy Victory Monday to Patriot fans as they win the game, but they have to suffer the first round draft pick. That belongs now to the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans, because Tennessee also lost. Buffalo is awaiting as we speak. Buffalo is awaiting who they will play. We will indeed see the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles go to battle in the wild card next week. So they will play in the wild card. In the NFC wild card, we will see the Eagles, the 2 seed right now, take on the Packers, despite their loss despite the Packers' loss to their opponents They lost to the Chicago Bears 22 to 24 to 22 in those games. Kicking off here on a Sunday. Also, a final score went out on. Also, a final score went as we just were coming back in from that early slate. Let's talk about the early slate here before we get to the game stats. So, besides our game, which we know was 23 to 16, Patriots over Buffalo. Again, make sure I have that right. Yep, 23 to 16. Patriots over Buffalo. They get the sweet taste of revenge. The Panthers defeated the Atlanta Falcons in overtime, 44 to 38. Meanwhile, how about them Cowboys? Well, how about them Commanders? Commanders beat the Cowboys. The Commanders defeated the Cowboys 23 to 19 was the final. As I mentioned earlier, Bears beat the Packers 24-22. Another game going into overtime, that between the Jaguars and the Colts. Tied at 23. Colts kick a game-winning field goal. They win it 26 to 23 in overtime. Giants at the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Well, they certainly flew. They beat the G-Man Giants 20 to 13. The Houston Texans defeated the Tennessee Titans 23 to 14. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the win and the Falcons lost. They are in the playoffs. They will fill up that last spot in the playoffs. They beat the New Orleans Saints 27 to 19. And that will wrap us up here, because other than all those games I just mentioned besides our game, we have the late games going on right now. Miami is in the red zone. The Las Vegas Raiders have opened up a point. They lead 3-0 on the Chargers. The Rams trailing 7-3 over the Seahawks. Denver has opened up their lead out in front 14-0. Another touchdown for Denver. Meanwhile, in Arizona, we have a tie game there, 3-3 in the first quarter, headed to the second quarter. The late games headed to the second quarter as we play out. Chargers, speaking of the Chargers, and the Miami Dolphins, though, are in the red zone. In the Chargers' case, they're looking to get on the board, maybe take the lead. In the Dolphins' case, they're looking to increase their lead. We'll find out, I'm sure, in due time what happens there. Reminder, the Bengals, Broncos, and Dolphins are on the line here as the potential people the Bills can face next week in the AFC wildcard matchup that they host at Highmark Stadium next week. Speaking of that, let's break down the road finale where the Patriots have a nice debut by Joe Middleton III as a rookie, but they cost themselves the number 1 draft pick by beating Buffalo 23 to 16 at the end of this game. Let's talk stats here now that we've broken down the game the way that we do every game. We break it down by scoring and by half. Here we go with our game stats of the game. And we're going to go by team. So let's start with our Bills. 16 first downs, 1 on penalties, 8 rushing, 7 passing, 16 first downs total. They had the ball for 28 minutes and 46 seconds. On third down efficiency, they were 6 of 15. 1 of 4 on fourth down. They had 259 yards total, 65 plays, 4 yards average per play. 129 passing yards. Completion attempts, I should say, were 18 of 32. 4 yards per pass, averaged. No sacks allowed by Buffalo. 130 yards rushing on the ground on 33 rushes, averaging 3.9 yards per rush. Perfect in the red zone, 2 for 2, and goal to go efficiency at 2 for 2. Penalties, 6 penalties for 35 yards, no turnovers for Buffalo. They did have one fumble, but they didn't lose it. 2 touchdowns for Buffalo, 2 on the one on the ground and 1 in the air. No defensive special team touchdowns. 83 return yards, no punt yards for Buffalo, but they do receive the ball 3 times off of kickoff and go for 83 yards. No interception yards, no safeties. For the Patriots, they had the ball a bit longer than Buffalo at 31 minutes and 14 seconds. 19 first downs in the first down category total. 14 first downs passing. 5 on the ground. None to do with penalties. They were 4 of 12 on third down. Perfect on fourth down at 1 for 1. They had 309 total yards, 61 plays called. 65 were called by the Bills. The Patriots averaged 5.1 yards per play, 241 yards passing, 22 of 30 completions in attempts, averaging 7.5 yards a pass. They were sacked. We did see Drake May suffer the only sack in the game for the Patriots. That lost 9 yards. Joe Middleton was not sacked in this game. 77 yards rushing, 30 rushes, 2.6 yards per rush averaged. In the red zone, 1 for 2 in goal to go efficiency. In the red zone, the Patriots were 1 for 3. Not too shabby. 7 penalties, though, for the Patriots. They go 59 yards on 7 penalties. 1 turnover in the game. That was a fumble that they lost. 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 in the air. 42 yards return. They get 26 yards on 2 punt returns and 16 yards on just 1 kickoff return. No defensive special team touchdowns for either squad, no interception yards, and no safeties. Game break time, game break. It's a game break time, game break time. Gotta go to another game break. Going back to the Dolphins here. It's now 6-0 Dolphins, 6-0 Dolphins. Playing like they really want that third round against Buffalo. Also, Chargers are even with the Raiders, 3-3. 7-3 still Seahawks over the Rams. 3-3 Cardinals and Niners in the late window. Broncos still ahead, 14-0 on Kansas City. Whoever wins these next two games in this late slate, one of those two teams will knock out the Bengals, and the other team that they need to lose in order to hit the playoffs. The Bengals are still in the conversation, but the Broncos and the Dolphins, if they both win, the Bengals are out. If the Bengals see Denver choke and Miami choke, they will play Buffalo next week. Who will play Buffalo next week? By the time you hear this program, we will know that answer. When we come back to Bill's postgame, it's time for the game balls of the game. And I will give you some of my thoughts on this season thus far. Again, no victory speech, but to close out victory speeches for this one, just before we get to the play of the game, which is also coming up next, I will give you some of my thoughts on the game. And I'm also going to give you my pick for that NFC number 1 seed first round bye in the playoffs next week between the Lions and the Vikings, coming up at 8:20 p.m. as we also prepare to set you up for the second of the doubleheader on this birthday extravaganza. Penguins and Hurricanes, that game getting started in just under a few minutes from now. So be sure you stick with us for that on Sports for Beginners. I will be with you for that post-game show right after the game has gone final or on the day after the game. Hopefully the Penguins can get me a nice little victory on my birthday. We will see. The Bills tried, but the Patriots won, and in doing so, they suffered the chance to get that number 1 pick. However, a win is a win, a loss is a loss. It's off to the playoffs for Buffalo now, and we'll get ready to set all that up for you when Bills postgame Week 18 continues in a second. We're following the action on the NFL and getting you ready for the Penguins and the Hurricanes in a little bit. One of the quick notes I want to mention here, Philip Tomasino for the Pittsburgh Penguins, as I would expect, is not going to play tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. He is not going to play tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He has been placed on injured reserve. The Penguins have, however, called back up and activated from injured reserve number 58, Christopher Letang. Christopher Letang returns to the lineup tonight. That's going to be some good news for the Penguins. We'll see how they do tonight against the Hurricanes. That recap coming your way in a little bit on our Sports for Beginners birthday extravaganza. And speaking of birthdays, as we are recording this on January 5th, I want to wish a great happy birthday, happy 31st birthday to Penguins player number 24, Matt Grzelcyk. Happy birthday, Matt. Want to wish a happy birthday to Matt Grzelcyk here as we are recording this on the 5th of January. Inactives for that game we are following between the Chiefs and the Broncos, as well as the game we are following between the Jets and the Dolphins. The inactives for the Chiefs are their starters, including Isaiah Pacheco, quarterback Patrick Mahomes, cornerback Trent McDuffie, defensive end George K, tackle Jawan Taylor, tight end Travis Kelce. Oh, Taylor Swift's boy, right? I'm not going to get any further on that. And defensive tackle Chris Jones. Broncos inactives Zach Wilson at quarterback, Blake Watson at running back, and also running back Lavelle Bailey. Tackle Frank C. D lineman Matt Henningsen, and D lineman EU. We're going to call it EU. I might not have been able to pronounce the name, so we will make that going. Thank you so much to my good buddy Raven for providing us with that. And of course, I'm pretty sure those are available at the NFL app. Download the app for yourself. Follow your favorite team all year long. Yes, the Falcons have, been eliminated from the playoffs. And they have not made the playoffs since 2017. They have not made the playoffs since 2017. So the Falcons are out. They are eliminated. We're going to have to see who is the opponent down the stretch for Buffalo. We will see. The one thing we do know is that Andy Reid and the Chiefs will not play next Sunday. They will play the Sunday after. So they have some time to regroup and recover. The number one pick in the 2025 NFL Draft belongs to the Tennessee Titans. So we will see what transpires next season on that note. We will see what transpires on that note. But with that being said, rolling on here, we got to get to the game balls of the game. I'm going to get to the play of the game in just a moment. But first, a quick update on the games in the late window that have happened here. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Arizona Cardinals have taken a 10-3 lead in their games. Arizona taking a 10-3 lead over the 49ers. In the second quarter, the Raiders taking a lead of 10-3 over the Chargers in the second quarter. 14-3 the score between Seattle and the Rams. The Denver Broncos have opened up their lead further now, 21-0 on the Kansas City Chiefs. And still we have a 6-0 advantage for the Miami Dolphins. So again, in the games that matter, we have a 6-0 advantage for Miami, a 21-0 advantage for the Broncos. We have a 10-3 score between the Raiders and Chargers. Also the same score for Cardinals and 49ers. Cardinals and 49ers at 10-3. 14-3 the score. Seattle and, of course, the Rams. But that one might be changing. That one might be changing. It's an all-out battle, Thomas is saying, between the Broncos and the Dolphins. Well, He's definitely correct about that one, given the scores I just mentioned. 21-0 Denver over the Kansas City Chiefs. 6-0 Miami over the Jets. And the Chargers are in the red zone as we speak. All right. Enough fooling around. Let's get to my play of the game here. And then we'll get to the game balls. Because we might run out of time for my thoughts, but I do want to make sure that if we run out of time for my thoughts on the Bills season, at least for this post-game show, I want to make sure that we get in the play of the game. And of course, I want to make sure that we get in game balls of the game as well. And then after a 30-second timeout, I will provide you with my pick for the battle for the NFC number 1 spot and the number 1 overall bye in the NFC, the Vikings and the Lions. Who is going to win that one? I'll provide you with my pick of that one in just a couple of moments. But before we get there, I'm going to get to the play of the game here. And honestly, I'm going to go with the first play of the game. I didn't see it, but congratulations to Joe Milton III. Congratulations, Joe Milton III. Your first career NFL touchdown. It was a rushing touchdown. Congratulations, my friend. That's good enough for my play of the game. Of course, this is basically coming in around our victory speech time, but I said we're going to leave that for our... Well, this is news to me. Right after the victory, the head coach of the team I'm talking about was fired. They fired. The New England Patriots have fired head coach Gerard Mayo after one season, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. There's more to come on the deal, but this is news to me. Breaking news alert, breaking news alert, breaking news, breaking news alert. He stuck right into it. Right into the game. And then after the game final, because they did not get the number 1 draft pick in the NFL for the 2025 season, the Patriots have decided to part ways with Gerard Mayo. Wow. What a turn of events that was. He gets you a victory the last week of the season and then you fire him. He gets you a victory the last week of the season, then you fire his ass. And disclaimer, I didn't mean to say that. Let me just rephrase that. What I mean is you fire his butt. There we go. I mean, why would you fire this dude? Oh, wait. The logical reason would be you guys only had 4 wins this season and you lost 13 games. Not to mention you lost a game to Buffalo. But then you got the sweet taste of revenge. I was hoping they would probably give him another season. Not the case. They wanted him fired after they did not get the... You heard me. Not get the number 1 pick in the NFL. Number 1 pick in the NFL draft in 2025. They did not get the number 1 pick in the NFL draft in 2025. They fired Gerard Mayo. After 1 year, and after the Bills got beat. After the Bills got beat. Wow, okay. Okay. All right. All right. It's probably a preview of what's coming in the coming weeks as they hit the off season, knowing that they are not playing in the playoffs this year. So with that said, alrighty, let's get to it. My play of the game is Joe Milton, his first touchdown of his NFL career, not NHL, NFL career. That's good enough for my play of the game. If you want in on the action for the Bills post game, whether it's the game ball of the game, play of the game, anything of that nature, head on over to Bills post game show interactions and provide us with your play of the game. Provide us with your play of the game, your game balls of the game, everything, etc. You can also do so by sending us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast 8231 at gmail.com. The Patriots split with Mayo. The Patriots split with Mayo after beating the Bills 23-16. We're back to get to the game balls of the game, and I'll provide you with my pick for Sunday Night Football. Plus, check back in on the NFL scores. And after that, hockey takes over the rest of the way on this special episode's Double Trouble of Sports for Beginners, the podcast. Birthday extravaganza. Hockey with the Penguins and the Hurricanes is coming up next. But first, we wrap up Bill's postgame in 30 seconds. Stick with us.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
We'll get to the game balls in just a little bit as we've come back to wrap up Bill's postgame in just a second. But before we do, let's talk about Jared. We'll talk about Gerard Mayo getting fired after just one season. And in his lone season after taking over from legendary coach Bill Belichick, Mayo went 4-13 with Sunday's 23-16 win over the Buffalo Bills, the game we've been talking about for a while on this post-game show here. The Patriots went from holding the number 1 pick in the draft to number 4 as a result of the game win. After the game today, owner Robert Kraft in a statement said, after the game today, I informed Gerard Mayo that he will not be returning as the head coach of the New England Patriots in 2025. For me personally, this was one of the hardest decisions I have ever made. I know Gerard. I've known Gerard for 17 years. He earned my respect and admiration as a rookie in 2008, and throughout his career for his play on the field, his leadership in the locker room, and the way he conducted himself in our community. When he joined our coaching staff, his leadership was even more evident as I saw how the players responded to him. When other teams started requesting to interview him, I feared I would lose him and committed to making him our next head coach. Winning our season opener on the road at Cincinnati only strengthened my convictions. Unfortunately, the trajectory of our team's performances throughout the season did not ascend as I had hoped. Since buying the team, I have always considered myself and my family as custodians of a public asset. We have better product than we have delivered. We have tremendous fans, I should say, who expect and deserve a better product than we have delivered in recent years. I apologize for that. I have given much thought and consideration as to what actions I can take to expedite our return to championship contention and determined this move was the best option at this time. I'm grateful for Gerard's many contributions to the New England Patriots throughout his career and will always be rooting for his success. I appreciate all his hard work and hope the experience gained will help him in the future, as I still believe he will be a successful head coach in this league. I wish Gerard and his family nothing but success in the future. That's a very nice statement there by Patriots owner Robert Kraft. All right. Get into the game balls in just a few minutes because we want to wrap this up soon. But before we do, taking a look around the league, the Rams have gotten closer. It's 14-10. Seahawks over the Rams. Meanwhile, Arizona's in a tie game, 10-10, with the Niners. They're in a tie game, 10-10. Oh, just as I said that with Seattle, Seattle's got a field goal here. They're up 17-10, but the Rams are getting a bit closer here. We have a 10-6 game between the Chargers and Raiders. And the Dolphins have lost the lead for the moment. It's 7-6 Jets on the Dolphins. Meanwhile, headed to halftime, Denver stays in the lead 21-0 on the Chiefs, playing like they really want that match against Buffalo. Reminder, if Denver wins, they play Buffalo next week. If they lose and Miami loses, if Miami and the Broncos lose, the Bengals get the Bills next week on Sunday in the playoffs, and they make it to the playoffs, given their victory on Saturday. But if the Broncos win, or the Dolphins win, and the Broncos choke, the Dolphins take on the Bills next week. I'm pretty sure Thomas will have the answers for you on who's playing Buffalo on Dolphins postgame. All right. We're not going to have a lot of time for me to do thoughts on the game, so let's quickly get to the game balls of the game. I might not do thoughts on the season, but at least we'll get to the game balls of the game. Let's start with the victorious New England Patriots. I was going to say coachless now New England Patriots, but I quickly paused there because I don't want to say that, even though it is true, considering the breaking news we just brought up moments ago on the program. I'm going to give my first game ball of the game to Joe Milton. 22 completions on 29 attempts, 241 yards, 8.3 yards, averaged 1 touchdown, no sack. Pretty good debut for the rookie. 2 scores for him, including a touchdown passing and a touchdown on the ground. Also, Drake May, gonna get an honorable mention. Only played 1 snap, was an incomplete pass. And he also was sacked once for 9 yards. How about the game by Antonio Gibson? How about that game by Antonio Gibson? No touchdowns for him, but 41 yards on 12 carries, 3.4 yards an average, 15 yards longest yards running. So we're going to give him an honorable mention as well. And meanwhile, for Buffalo, going to give some credit to Mitch White. 3 completions out of 11 attempts, no sacks for the Bills, 1 touchdown. That was thrown by Mitch Trubinsky, who threw for 101 yards. Mike White threw for 28 yards. Trubinsky was 15 of 21. And he is going to get our game ball of the game. James Cook also going to get a game ball of the game, with Ray Davis also getting one. 15 carries, 64 yards on the ground, 4.3 yards a carry. 23 yards his longest run. And with that, an honorable mention to Keon Coleman, an honorable mention to Ray Davis in the passing lane. And how about Von Miller getting in there to drop Drake May? Oh, by the way, Buffalo made some history. In this game. Even after we saw a sack in this game. After we saw the team sack in this ball game, Buffalo made some history as the Bills became the first NFL team with 30 passing touchdowns plus 30 rushing touchdowns in a season, as Mitchell Trubinsky finds Ray Davis, and the Bills became the first NFL team in history to do that. 30 plus 30 passing touchdowns plus 30 rushing touchdowns in a season. Congratulations to our Bills. Didn't get the win, but made some history in the process. And shout out to Josh Allen, our QB1, making some history of his own. Despite this 23-16 loss, despite this 23-16 loss, we only see Josh for at least 1 snap, not an entire game, but 30 passing touchdowns, 30 rushing touchdowns in a season. The Bills are the first team in NFL history to do this kind of thing. Hard work and dedication pays off. And that's exactly what the Buffalo Bills have in common right now. All right. So we're on to the playoffs. It's either going to be Miami, Denver, or the Bengals. We will see. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be Denver, given our score. But with the game balls out of the way, our next Bills post game will be coming to you during the postseason. But just one final look here as we go to another game break here to close out the program, as we are going to do shout, even though we lost this game, we play it win or lose. We do it win or lose. We'll do it win or lose. The Broncos at the half have a 24-0 advantage on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Jets have a 7-6 lead on the Dolphins on the way to halftime. That could go bigger. 17-10 the Seahawks on the Rams. The Raiders leading the Chargers 9-10. And of course, we could see a leader in that Cardinals game. By the time these games go final, we will see where they stand at that point in time. Penguins and Hurricanes coming up next on our double trouble. But first, rewind to January the 4th for PWHL recap, Sirens, and for Ross. That's coming up when we get out of here in a moment. But just a reminder on the games we're keeping an eye on. Denver at the half, leading 24-0 on Kansas City. Jets leading 7-6 right now. Looks like it might change. We have a lead for the Seahawks, 17-10. A 10-9 victory, a 10-9 lead, I should say, for the Raiders. And honestly, we've ran out of time for me to give you my Sunday Night Football prediction, but I'm just going to give it to you here before we sign off. So, I'm taking the Lions. I think the Lions are going to win the NFC. I think they're going to win that bye week. I think they are going to win the bye week here. And I think they're going to do it on Sunday Night Football. If they don't do it, oh well, they got to go play another team. But I feel like it's going to be anyone's guess. I don't have a prediction for you, but I'm going to say give me the Lions on Sunday Night Football. We will see who wins it. Who will win the NFC? Who will win the NFC is best at. Who will win the NFC's first round bye next week? We'll find out shortly. We will find out when Sunday Night Football begins. Thomas is just informing me now that it is now 15-6. 15-6. It is now 15-6 Jets over the Dolphins. So those Jets playing like they really want to make sure Miami doesn't make the playoffs. And that's good for Denver. You know what isn't good, though? The Bengals winning. But they can't worry about that now. They got to keep on the gas pedal. They got to keep on the gas pedal because they are just 2 quarters away from becoming Buffalo's next week opponent next Sunday. My name is Scott McGregor. It's time to shout. But as always, we cheer loud and proud for the big, bad red, white, and blue of your Buffalo Bills. Here comes shout as I say so long from Bills postgame for the regular season. I will see you in the postseason, Bills Mafia. And let's go Bills. Let's go Buffalo. On to the postseason we go. Now it's all about doing what we can to make sure we get what we have so desired. We want that Super Bowl. That is our goal right now. But we need to be good. We need to be good. If we want that Super Bowl, we have to win the wild card. We have to win the divisional. We have to win the AFC championship game. But we have to win one game at a time. Remember, as we head into the postseason, if we lose this next game that we play first in the postseason, we are done. Done. Finito. Completo. Done. It's done. We're not going anywhere else. We're packing it in, going ready to get ready for next season in 2025. That's all I will leave you with. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again after the wild card game. We'll see you in the playoffs. Shout, take it away.
The Bills make me wanna shout. Kick your heels up and shout. Throw your hands up and shout. Throw your head back and shout. Come on now, the Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout. Yeah, 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 yeah. Say you will. Shout it right now, baby. Say you will. Come on, come on. Say you will. Come on and shout. Say you will. Yeah. Shout. Buffalo's happening now. Shout. We're on the move now. Shout. The Bills are happening now. Shout. They're making it happen now. Shout. We got the spirit. Shout. A lot of spirit, yeah. Shout. We got the spirit. Shout. Just watch it happen now. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. The Bills make me wanna shout.
Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.